topic is all about learning disability. So what is learning disability? Learning disability is used to describe a group of disorders that affect how someone learns. So when you have a learning disability, you have difficulty in reading, writing, in mathematics, listening, and even speaking. So there is usually a large difference between what is expected based on your intelligence and your actual performance. Since many people learn how to compensate for their learning differences as they mature, it can seem as if the learning disability has disappeared. So learning disability only impacted children. So now we know that learning disability continue throughout a person's life even if they learn to compensate for their learning disorders or difficulty. So there are three main types of learning disability. The first one is reading disabilities. When we say reading disabilities, is also known as dyslexia. Dyslexia is a language processing disorder that impacts reading, writing, and comprehension. Dyslexic may exhibit difficulty decoding words or phonemic awareness. So identifying individual sounds within words. So it is often diagnosed for many years and results in trouble with reading, grammar, reading comprehension, and other language skills. For example, a dyslexic person may read the letter B and write it on the paper letter D.
The second writing disability is also called dysgraphia. Those with dysgraphia have trouble converting their thoughts into writing or drawing for handwriting. It's a hallmark of dysgraphia but is far from the only symptom. Sufferers struggle to translate their thoughts into writing, whether in spelling, grammar, vocabulary, critical thinking, or memory. Persons with dysgraphia may exhibit difficulty with letters, spacing, trouble thinking, and writing simultaneously. The last is mathematic disabilities, also called dyscalculia, a broad term for many different types of disorders that involve problems with math. Individuals with dyscalculia struggle with math concepts and reasoning, difficulty to read, clock counting, money, identifying patterns, remembering math facts, and solving mental math.
So there are four other types of learning disability. The first one is auditory processing disorder. Auditory processing disorder, patients have difficulty processing sounds. Individuals with ADP or auditory processing disorder may confuse the order of sounds or be unable to filter different sounds, like a teacher's voice versus background noise. So, in APD, the brain misinterprets the information received and processed from the ear. For example, the teacher says, "Please raise your hand," and you hear it, "Please raise your plant." Another example is, "Look at the cows over there," and they may hear like, "Look at the clown on the chair." The second one is language processing disorder. It is a subset of auditory processing disorder. Language processing disorder arises when an individual has a specific challenges in processing spoken language, impacting both receptive and expressive language. According to the Learning Disability Association of America, in language processing disorder, there is difficulty attaching meaning to sound groups that form words, sentences, and stories. For example, so language disorder can affect both spoken and written language and can also affect sign language. Typically, all forms of language will be impaired. So the third one is nonverbal learning disabilities. So nonverbal learning disabilities relates to an individual's inability to speak or actually refers to difficulties in decoding behaviors or social cues. Uh, nonverbal Nonverbal learning disability sufferers struggle with understanding body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice the nonverbal aspects of communication. Nonverbal learning disability affects a child's social skills but not his speech or writing skills. So unlike kids with language-based learning disabilities like dyslexia, kids with nonverbal learning disability have trouble understanding communication that is not verbal. It includes the body language, tone of voice, and facial expression. So they cannot tell if you are sad, happy, or curious. So the last one is visual, perceptual, or visual motor deficit. Individuals with visual, perceptual, or visual motor deficit exhibit poor hand-eye coordination or often lose their places when reading and have difficulty with pencils, crayons, glue, scissors, and other fine motor activities. So they may also confuse similar looking letters, have trouble navigating their surroundings, or demonstrate unusual eye activity when reading or completing assignments. So visual perception or visual processing disorder refers to deficits in the ability to make sense of information that is taken in through the eyes. So visual perceptual deficits can affect academic performance in areas such as reading and math, as well as sports performance and other day-to-day activities. So these are the tips for dealing with your child's learning disability. The first one is keep things in perspective. Remind yourself that everyone faces obstacles. It's up to you as a parent to teach your child how to deal with those obstacles without becoming discouraged or overwhelmed. Don't let the test and endless paperwork distract you from what's really important. Give your child with plenty of emotional